Once you set up your categories and you've correctly associated your graded columns with the correct categories, it's time to set up your weighted total. The weighted total is already a default column in your grade center, and in this example we're going to use the grading system where each of the 3 essays are worth 15%, the discussions are worth 15%, the journal entries will be averaged together to be 15%, the midterm exam is 10%, the final exam is 10%, and the weekly quiz is averaged together for 5%. So what we want to do in order to set up this weighted total is to go to the weighted total column, click, and choose Edit Column Information. And we'll scroll down to the section where we get to select columns. And in this example, we're using categories and we already have those set up, but we can double check as we click on the different categories to figure out what assignments belong in those categories. So in this one, we have 3 reflections as assignments. So I'm going to click on the assignment and then I'm going to click the arrow to the right of that to add that. I also remember that I have tests, so those are all my chapter quizzes. Add that. Also, we had discussions, so my 5 discussions are there. We had exams, as well as essays. That includes the 3 essays. And so you'll notice with the categories, you have these options that you can set them equally or proportionally. So if you want to set something equally, that means that they're going to average together. So everything is weighted equally. So for example, if I had quizzes, some were worth 9 points, some were worth 10 points, some were worth 7 points, it's going to average those together out of their percentage, correct? If I do it proportionally, then we're going to do it like a total points column. So it would take the total number of points that the student could have earned and then divide those together. And so in this case, since every assignment is worth 100 points, it just makes sense to average everything equally. If I wanted to, in this category, this is where my quizzes are, I wanted to drop the lowest grade, then I could click drop 1 of the lowest grades if that's something I've told my students I would do. And then the last option is use only and that removes all grades from the calculation except for the lowest or the highest value of the column in that category. So if for some reason they had the ability to take multiple quizzes, but only one of those quizzes was going to count and it was going to be their highest quiz grade, that's when I would select something like this. So if I look back at my grading scheme, then I know that these quizzes are worth 5% of the grade. My discussions were going to average together to be 15% of the grade. The midterm and the final exam were weighted equally. They were each 10%, so together they're going to be 20. The essays were also weighted equally. They were each 15%, so together they'll be 45. This assignment was the reflections, and so averaged together those will be 15% of the grade. And then you just want to check and make sure that your total weight equals 100%, and then double check this with your syllabus statement to make sure that it agrees. And hit submit to save. But let's look at a second example. In this example, the first essay is worth 10%, the second essay is worth 15%, as well as the third essay. So what I just did in that last example, where I put them all together in a category, wouldn't work as well. So we're going to go back to Edit Column Information, and now I'm going to remove this exams and this essays category. So I still want it where all of my reflections average together for 15%, all of the weekly quizzes average together for 5%, and all of the discussions average together for 15%. But now I'm going to select those individual columns. So I need the midterm exam, the final exam, and all 3 essays. I need to give these a percentage. So the midterm exam stayed 10%, but the final exam became 15. The first essay was 10, and then the last 2 essays were 15. So this just is easier to do because I can't lump all of these essays together because they don't weight equally, and I can't lump all these exams together because they don't weight equally. But I want to make sure that these exams are not also part of this test category, because then they would be double counting in my class. But we made sure when we set up our categories that these didn't count as tests. So when you use columns, you can use a variety of columns and categories to create your weighted grade. Once again, we check to make sure that it's 100% for the total weight, and we compare that to our syllabus statement. And hit submit to save.